Good morning, everyone. My name is Visa Shanmugam. I am a life coach and I help women create a life that they are absolutely obsessed with for all the right reasons. It's a Friday today, and I am coming to you live from my beautiful house in my office. And I have my cup of coffee because it has been an absolutely great week. It feels like I'm back home in England again because I haven't seen the sun in a while. And you get the version of me that hasn't brushed my hair, that just kind of got ready, dropped my kids off in at school, and I've come and I've been stood up by a person who was supposed to have a coaching call with me. So instead, I am here coming to you live and making a video to you. So I hope you're all having a great week. If you are jumping on here live or replay, say hello to me and tell me where you are tuning in from. So today's topic is all about, I've had this question asked by me, and I think a lot of women worry about this, is I'm very passionate about the topic of self-love, right? Taking care of your needs, your desires, and putting yourself first, maybe for the very first time in your life. And it feels like a really awkward transition for a lot of people because they worry about, is that selfish to be thinking about my needs and my desires, and put it front and focus, right? Because all our lives, we've been told as women that our job is to take care of others, right? We are the nurturers. So even when we were little girls, we were taught by our mothers certain life skills that would serve us well when we went to our in-laws' place, when we got married. We wanted to, how do we portray the perfect daughter-in-law, and how can we bring about a good name for our parents, right? Because of the fact that we know these essential skills as to how to take care of our husbands and how to cook and just the stuff that you grow up with in Asian culture, which you don't even think is anything unique because that's all you've ever known, right? That's the stuff that we've grown up with. But as we move outside of India and as we are exposed to various cultures because of the internet and social media and the news these days, we realize that women live in a very different way outside of the Asian culture. So then we tend to find an internal conflict within us, almost on a daily basis, especially if you've left India and you live outside, like in the US or UK or Australia or anywhere else, where you see women living in a very different way to what we were taught and how it was okay to live. And so you might find yourself in a conflict as to, why is she so confident? How is she able to carry herself so well and communicate her ideas? And especially in the workplace, I noticed that in the workplace, is women were so confident. They were able to express themselves so well, and they didn't take themselves too seriously. They made jokes. Like, I was so serious at work all the time and always wondered about how I would come across to people, right? I guess you guys liked that one, and somebody gave me a thumbs up. So, it becomes hard to navigate this bicultural life that we have chosen to live in. And so whenever I bring up this topic of self-love to women that have never been introduced to this idea before, it's shockingly jarring to them. It takes a while for them to wrap their heads around it because we are so used to putting everybody else's needs first because we've been told that's what makes us good. That's what makes us deserving of being a good mother and a good wife and a good daughter-in-law. So when I tell you to not do that, not necessarily not take care of your kids, but sometimes to put your own needs first before your kids or your husband's needs, for some people, it just feels selfish. So the question that I asked all the time is, when do you cross the line from self-love to selfish and then like even self-obsession? And so I thought that was a really interesting question because I can understand that you'd feel that way. So I looked up the dictionary to see what the definitions were for self-obsessed and selfish. So self-obsessed is defined as excessively preoccupied with one's own life and circumstances, thinking only about oneself and their problems. So I put that and their problems at the end. So the actual definition is excessively preoccupied with one's own life and circumstances, thinking only about oneself, right? So that might sound like, hey, that's what you tell us to do when it comes to self-love, is think about our circumstances and how we can improve it, right? So, but I completely disagree. Self-love is not self-obsession. I am 100% disagreement on that one. I equate self-obsession to you are living in your own world entirely, and all you're thinking about is your problems, right? You and everything that I teach and coach and mentor on is to not focus on problems, is to focus on solutions, is to not let your circumstances define who you are, right? And that's what self-obsession is. Self-obsession is saying, this is what has been handed to me. These are the cards in life that I get to play with. I don't have any other choices. I am stuck with it. And it's really being in that mentality of, I don't have the power to change things. And you become obsessed with the fact that your life is terrible. And all you focus on is your problems. And you want everybody else around you to focus on your problems, right? Or maybe focus on and tell you how good looking you are or how pretty you are, because you're so obsessed with all the flaws inside of you, right? Or the flaws that's physically visible to you. And so you're not able to see past that and see your own beauty. So you become self-obsessed with everything that you deem is not perfect about you. So then you become obsessed with getting evidence and getting other people to tell you either it's the truth or not the truth, right? So you rely on outside external variables to convince you of your problems or to convince you that you are enough, that you are worthy. So that's what I equate self-obsession to. And then, so what is selfish? Selfish is, one of the definitions is only cares about him or herself and not about other people. So I thought this was very interesting. So selfish is only cares about him or herself and not about other people. See, self-love is an amazing thing because yes, you are thinking and caring about what you feel and what you want out of life, but it doesn't make you selfish, because by making yourself happy, you are actually, it's not just you that's reaping the benefits. The entire world and the community around you reaps those benefits, right? So for me, I would consider selfish as something about, you only care about yourself and not, and what other people think about you. I would say that is selfish, right? And what other people think about you. I would say that is selfish, because when you are so obsessed with what others think of you and winning their opinions of you, you tend to live in a very small world, right? You tend to obsess over things. You tend to not be able to let go and move on. And that really makes you a prisoner of your own life. It makes you stuck. And it really doesn't allow you then to expand and grow and to explore your gifts. Because if you consider one of your gifts to be something that maybe society or the people around you tell you that it is not a gift, that you need to focus on something that's sensible, that's going to bring in money, but there is a burning inside of you to maybe write, to paint, to pursue a career that sounds ridiculous. Maybe you want to go live in the Maldives and go diving, right? Maybe that's what you want to pursue as a career. Maybe you want to become a singer, and everyone tells you that, singing, not everybody becomes a successful singer. There is no money in it. It's very competitive. You're not very talented, right? So those are all things so in that sense, you could be deemed selfish for wanting to follow a career that necessarily might not be very stable. And then you might say, well, that's very selfish because that's not paying the bills for my family to survive on, right? So that might be, and people might call you selfish because you're doing the unstable, risky thing. But it's not selfish, and I don't know how else to put this, to follow what's in your heart, as long as it's not hurting somebody else. Because the sole reason that you are here in this life is to fulfill and live out your unique purpose. And how would you find out what your unique purpose is if you shut your gifts in a closet and lock them away? Or if you don't even give yourself a chance to explore what those gifts are, right? Because you're so busy taking care of everybody else because you don't want to be considered selfish. And one of the things I wanted to say was when we judge somebody else as self-obsessed or selfish, hi Rajani, I think that's how I say your name, or Rajani. Thank you for joining me this morning. So going back to, I lost my train of thought. This is why you do not Oh, okay. I lost my train of thought. So what was I saying? Oh, that's what I was saying. Okay. So when you deem somebody else as, oh, she or he is selfish, they're so self-obsessed, all they can talk about is the things that they have or the things that they do, what you're essentially doing is passing judgment on others, right? You're judging somebody. Let's be honest, we all judge people on a daily basis. I try really hard to catch myself in the moment when I'm judging somebody. And I've become much better at it, but I'm not like 100% free of judgment because we are humans and we judge. And that's how we draw quick conclusions about the world that we live in and the actions that we want to take. So when we are calling somebody selfish, you are judging that person. And judging somebody tells more about you, what you're judging that person on, than the person that you are judging. So if you are judging somebody as selfish, that says more about you than it does that other person. So you might be right, that other person might be selfish, but who are we to judge, right? Like you are triggered by the fact that that person is selfish because there are some aspects of you that are selfish, right? And maybe you've been told that being selfish makes you bad, right? And I'm here to tell you being selfish it makes you good, right? It's okay to be selfish for your own happiness. It's okay to be greedy for your own happiness. It's okay to be selfish for your own well-being. It's okay to be selfish about your emotional well-being. It's okay to be selfish about your time freedom and how you spend that time and who you spend it with. Those are all perfectly okay things to be selfish about. Because as we create a world that we just love existing in, as we create a life that feels just so joyful and delightful in every moment, what do you think the repercussions are going to be of that? Do you think the world is going to be a better place because of it? Or do you think it's going to be worse because of it? Right? Think about that. If you are so selfish that now you have managed to create a life that is blissful. So when we say selfish, it has negative connotations. But when I talk about selfish, I talk about it in a self-love way because you are putting your needs first always. If you're putting your needs first always, as long as it doesn't harm others in any way, then you are doing the world a favor. There is absolutely nothing wrong in taking care of your needs. I cannot say this enough times. There is absolutely nothing wrong when you want to take care of your own needs over the needs of others. So, for instance, today, one of my neighbors is having a baby. And she sent out an email for like a fun game that we're collecting. She's collecting how like heavy the baby's going to be and what the height of the baby is going to be when they're born. And we're all like playing a sweet game, right? And at the end of the email, she'd said, please don't like post anything on social media because we want to make our own announcements. And don't come to visit us in the hospital on this day because that's a day for family. And she'd laid out her ground rules, right? Which I thought was fabulous, which I thought was absolutely fabulous. This woman knows what she wants. This woman knows what she needs in the time that's going to be, she's going to be kind of pretty out of it after giving birth. But she laid out her terms and she made it known to everyone so that she didn't feel, and there's no feeling bad about it, right? It's just what she needs in that moment. As an Indian woman, we would never in a million years think of sending out such an email, right? We would never think about sending out such an email. We would say, oh my gosh, like people want to come see the baby. How can I say no? That feels so selfish of me to think about my own needs when everybody wants to come see the baby. What? You've just given birth. You need to put your own needs and your baby's needs first, right? Like who cares what anyone else thinks? Like really, who cares what anyone else thinks? So do you see how that line is, how fine that line is about what could be considered selfish and what is actually self-love? In this sense, when my neighbor sent out that email, I was like, hallelujah, a woman who is taking control of the situation, deciding what it is that is going to make her feel empowered. It's going to make her feel in control of the situation. And she's telling the world exactly what she needs, right? Don't come visit me in the hospital on this day. Like it's not going to work. Like don't come, basically. Which I loved. How empowering is that, right? So, and self-love is also about you stop caring what other people think of you. It is the most liberating, freeing thing in this world that you can do. And if I can teach you one thing, it is how do I stop caring about what other people think of me, right? And this includes your family as well, especially your family, because you have to get to the point where you have such a good relationship with your spouse and your kids that you're not afraid to put your opinions across, right? In a kind, loving, non-judgmental way. Because every time I wanted to step away from a normal career and pursue another business and then another business and another business, the amount of fear that I held in my heart to tell my husband, I was so scared of telling him, oh, I changed my mind again. I want to do this new thing. I held an immense amount of fear in my head, even though we have an amazing relationship. He's my best friend, and he's the one that I want to call and tell if anything good happens, anything bad happens. We have a great relationship. And despite the fact, and because of the fact, like we have such a good relationship, and I still fear telling him my change of plans for my life, because that has repercussions, right? That has repercussions to our entire family. And so I understand that. Like, so I could have hidden from what I wanted and not pursued this career, because it's not a guarantee. A paycheck is not guaranteed at the end of the day with what I do. And so I had an immense amount of fear before I could share with him that I really wanted to pursue this. And I had to ask myself, is this what you truly want? Do you think this is going to bring you happiness? I didn't have any guarantees, but at that moment in time, with all the information I had in front of me, yes, absolutely. Hey, Neha. And that is so I decided every time to have the courage, to have love, the self-love for myself, to be able to step out and tell my husband what it is that I wanted. So, and again, it could be, and I told myself that I was being selfish by following my dreams that didn't come with any guarantees of a steady income, right? Like, who was I to go pursue my dream when my husband probably wanted the same thing for his life, right? Like, I'm sure he wants to take time off and go follow his heart and just, figure out what it is that he wants to do. But he hasn't been able to do that. So when I changed my business and I went from, in network marketing, my focus was on network marketing, and then it changed to life coaching. I had an immense amount of fear in my heart because I felt I was being really selfish. So it's not just you that feels that. Like, even though I teach this stuff and I live it every single day, I still have moments and days and weeks where I do judge myself and I don't give myself the self-love. But you know what? I know, like, I wouldn't be happy any other way. I really wouldn't, because I decided that what is going to bring me happiness is following the beat of my own drum, right? Not to work for somebody else, but to define success on my own terms, work for me, change the life of other women, and frigging blow their minds about what they can do with their life, right? So I hope that discussion was helpful around what is self-love, what is selfish, what is self-obsessed. And again, there's nothing wrong with wanting to love yourself unconditionally, just the way you are. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to self-love, I would love to tell you more. So I did a 3-day mini course that's absolutely free on this Facebook group, and it introduces you to the idea of self-love. Why is it important? What might be stopping you? Hi, Vidya. What might be stopping you from doing it, and why you need it in your life, and how it can improve, enhance, and just help you create a blissful life. And it applies to all aspects of your life, not just taking care of your physical body, right? Not just taking care of your own needs. What does it mean to take care of your needs? We all have a lot of needs about how we want to be treated, how we want to feel, how we want to be perceived by others, which is a form of love that we need from others. But then how do you give that to yourself so that you're not looking for it from the outside? Because anytime we can feed ourselves for the things that we want and we stop relying on others, that's a step closer to freedom. And true self-love, that's what I classify it as, is it feels like total freedom. Let me say that again. When you get closer and closer to unconditionally loving yourself, it feels like total freedom. Now, who would like total freedom, right? Give me a like, give me a heart if you would like total freedom. freedom from the worry about the opinions of others, freedom from the worry of opinions of others, right? In our Indian culture, we rate the opinions of others extremely highly. In Asian culture, we do that. We tend to put so much importance and weight on what others think of us and how they perceive us and how they talk about us behind our back and how we think they talk about us behind our back. And because of that, a lot of people tend to manipulate us as well, right? You are giving the power away for people to manipulate you because that is so important to us. Sometimes we tend to be too flexible and we don't really know what our boundaries are. And we let other people kind of push us around because we want that respect and because we want that recognition from others so much. We forget that we have boundaries, that we can draw the line and say, this is too much, right? But don't wait for that, like the straw to break the camel's back. Like, don't wait to draw boundaries until it gets too much. Like, draw the boundaries so that you continue to maintain a healthy and happy life. Don't wait for things to go wrong that then you have to pull back the curtain and really do major amount of work and cleaning up emotionally and mentally and spiritually to do that. Okay. Wow, I'm getting all sorts of feelings here. Flowers, angry faces, tears, as long as I'm getting a reaction, right? Because sometimes the things that I tell people really like aggravates them. It really pushes buttons. It really annoys the heck out of them. And they're like, who the heck is she to say stuff like that? I get it. It just means that I've talked about something that is very sensitive to you, that feels very like just, it hit the button, right? It just pushed the wrong button on something for you. So go check out that mini course all about self-love. And I also have an amazing 2-hour workshop that I have done. And it's all about how do I find out which parts of self-love I'm lacking in and where do I start, right? It's a 2-hour workshop. It's available. It's been recorded, so you can watch it at your convenience and do the work in the workshop. And it's amazing. It's amazing. This is a great stepping stone to you getting started on cultivating a life that works for you, right? Making sure that your life is working for you instead of against you. And sometimes for a lot of you, it could be the first time you've taken a real hard look at your life, right? Until now, you might have just been like driving without really knowing where you are going. Like, what is your final destination, right? We don't often know when it comes to life. When it's just normal driving, we tend to put in the final destination on GPS and we know exactly where we're going. But in life, we don't have a final destination. We don't know what it is that we want to do. We're just kind of wandering the streets, driving aimlessly until we're like, we don't know. We're just going to go wherever this car takes us. I'm just going to take turns wherever I feel like turning. But how amazing would it feel to have some sort of like a purpose and go, where you're specifically going, right? And so I'm kind of blabbering now. So anyway, I hope that was helpful to you guys. And I've been wanting to talk about that topic for a long time. So I hope I made it clear that because you decide to put your needs and your desires first, it just means that you are stepping into your own power to help the world to be a better place. And it is not self-obsessed. It is not selfish. It is a selfless act that you are doing because it means you have the courage. Because it means you have the courage to do the hard thing, which not many people will have. It means that you're willing to put your hand up and say, hey, I'm important. It's important that I take care of me. And that might not always be easy, but I'm going to learn how to do it because the world is going to benefit. Because I'm going to benefit. And when I benefit, the whole world benefits. And even if the whole world, you don't even care about the whole world, I promise you, your family will benefit. In the short term, the work that you do might be painful. It might feel almost coarse, right? Like coarse, rough, gritty. It doesn't feel comfortable. But any transformation, it starts with making you uncomfortable. If life is feeling great for you right now, if you are coasting along and you are truly, truly, truly feel the fullness of life, where every day you feel like, yes, I am living my purpose, just life couldn't get any more amazing, I am so happy for you. I am so happy for you, and share the magic formula in here for us. I urge you to. Okay. But if there are some aspects of life where you feel like, oh my gosh, like the same stuff that just keeps showing up in my life, I feel stuck, I feel frustrated when I get out of bed in the morning. I wish it wasn't time to wake up already, or I just feel like I'm going through the same motions over and over and over, and you don't feel the true fullness of life. You don't feel like you don't sense the delightfulness of life, and you don't feel truly connected to this person who's inside here, because ultimately that is what it's all about, is when you feel truly connected deep down inside of you, you feel connected to everything around you. So today I was driving my son to school, and I looked at a son and a father walking to a bus stop. And they were just having a conversation. I couldn't really hear what they were saying. I could see the smile. And before that really wouldn't have affected me, but I was like in the moment watching just their happiness, right? And I was like, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that is what I mean about experiencing the fullness of life. Noticing these little things that bring you joy in life, right? The lush greenness of the trees today, that made me so happy. The hug that my son gave me, and he just hugged me so tight, right? He's 4, he's growing up really fast. It's the everyday little things. And you might think I am cuckoo for saying these things, but I am telling you that is where the absolute delightfulness and fullness of life comes from. Because when you truly connect to the soul that you are on the inside and are truly happy with the person that you are becoming every day, it really lets you experience the magic of life. It really does, because life starts to feel like it has meaning. It starts to feel like it has purpose. And you start to think bigger, think outside of your problems, think and know that you have the power and the solution to those problems. Instead of feeling powerless, you know that you have it in you to figure out these problems. Okay. All right. So thank you for those that joined me today. I will post